Hey everybody, so today I'm answering your questions. Thank you to everybody who sent us questions on Instagram. It's greatly appreciated, and let's get to it. This is a really good question. What is the best way to learn how to price crystals? So pricing crystals is very difficult because it depends on what your market is. If you're selling in a retail store, are you selling in a flea market? Are you selling on eBay? Are you selling on Etsy, Amazon? Do you do Instagram or Facebook live sales? There's just so many different platforms. And the best way to know how to price your crystals is to see what your competitors are pricing their crystals out. So if you're selling on Facebook Live, then you need to see what other people are selling their crystals out on Facebook Live and then either match those prices or kind of try to slice those prices just a little bit so you can be more competitive, especially if you're trying to get ahead. Typically, when you're starting a crystal business, you want your pricing to be competitive. So even if you are not making as much profit as you'd like to, you're building a clientele and you're building a foundation, which is a little bit more important than money. Most people think the money comes first, and that's not true. The thing that comes first is the following, right? You need to build a following, you need to build a presence, you need to build trust before you can start charging higher prices for your stuff. So how do you price your crystals? Basically, price check. Compare your stuff to other people's stuff. If you're in a store, then your pricing kind of becomes totally up to you. But if you're online and you're selling on any online platform, it's so competitive that you have to make sure you're competitive as well. How do you find the right manufacturer? So if you're manufacturing crystals and stones, you need to be manufacturing very large quantities. A lot of people come to me and ask me, hey, I want to make 20 of this or 100 of this or even 500 of this. The quantity is too small. In order to manufacture and actually get a good price on something, your quantity has to be extremely high. Like I'm talking about 1,000 pieces plus. The higher, obviously, the units, the better the pricing will be. Finding a manufacturer is very difficult. Most people try to go immediately to China or to India. The good companies are probably not going to really care much about your business. The smaller companies who are trying to fight for the business will care. So you're kind of in this catch-22 where usually people who are starting off are trying to produce smaller quantities of material, and finding a good manufacturer at that point is extremely difficult. You're going to pay a lot of money. So I don't really have a good answer to that question other than make sure your quantity is high and just do your research. We typically don't take new manufacturing projects on anymore because we're already booked to capacity. But most people are outsourcing to China or India, which is quite risky in my personal opinion. You just don't know what you're going to get. How much should you invest as a startup? So this is a really good question. It's something that I bring to my clients' attention all the time, especially new clients. What is your budget for starting your business? It's so important. 99% of the time, the answer I get is I don't really have a budget. You have to have a budget. There's no way you can start a business and not have a budget. You need to know exactly what you can put into this business, right? It's like I told someone not too long ago, I said, imagine you're starting a fire and you have 5 pieces of wood to start the fire. Your fire is going to be as big as the 5 pieces of wood allow that fire to be. If someone has 100 pieces of wood, now they're going to build this humongous fire, right? Are you going to see the humongous fire or the small fire first? So really, the more budget you have to throw into a business, the better. Typically in a crystal startup business, if you have a store, usually my rule of thumb is, let's just say you have 1,000 square feet. You want to go with like around $10 a foot, which would be $10,000 purchase. That's to start if you have no inventory. So usually I recommend $10 a square foot based on your store's square footage. If you're starting online and you're trying to be competitive, probably $5,000 will get you a good starting point. The thing that's really interesting about all of it is that most of the people who are starting new online businesses are all buying the same exact stuff, which you would think is a good idea, but it's actually counterintuitive. You want to be a little bit more unique. You want to set yourself aside, to set yourself apart from everybody else. The analogy that I always give to customers that come into the warehouse is, you're going fishing and you walk up to a pond and there's 5,000 people fishing in the pond already. Do you want to throw your line in that pond, or do you want to go and find a pond where there's much less people fishing? That's kind of the analogy I usually give. So either creating your own pond or finding a pond where there's much less people is going to be extremely more lucrative because that's where you're going to catch fish. How do you decide what to buy and how much of it? I've been following the trends of the market for a long time. We also have many mining contracts, meaning that I don't get to choose what I get. Either I'm getting everything that comes out of a mine most of the time. And sometimes I'm looking for very specific things myself, or I'm looking to find the trends. We also manufacture ourselves. So if I know moons are really popular right now, then I'm putting into production, I don't know, 10,000 moons. If I know spheres are really popular right now, let's put into production 5 tons of spheres. So I'm producing, manufacturing, distributing. We are taking mining contracts left and right. So I don't really decide what I buy, but I decide what I make more than I do anything else. And that's based on the trends that are showing up in the market. This is a good question too. Wow. So all the knowledge you've gained over the years, what's the best piece of advice you wish someone would have given you when you first got started? The best piece of advice I've gotten in the business, especially when I first started, was mine the miner. A lot of people think that mining is the way to go. It's not. You find the people that mine, and then you work with them directly, and you take care of them, and you're fair with them. You pay them before they even give you the material. That's how I got all my mining contracts. Most of the miners that I met were dealing with, China and India, and were not really getting paid properly. They would ship out, the material to China, and then they would play games with them or not pay them on time, or, oh, I can't pay you this now. I know I told you I was going to pay you this, but I'm going to pay you this instead. I mean, it still happens. But what I did with the miners, I was like, give me the contract and I'll pay you up front. And they done. And that's how I got most of my mining contracts, was by paying my bills before the stuff even shipped, which is not common practice, especially when you're dealing with people in South America and Eastern, most Eastern countries. What do I wish someone would have told me when I first started the business? I wish someone would have told me that money is not the important thing. I wish I would have known, not chase the money, chase the growth. I did that quickly, but I wish I would have known that earlier. I wish I would have also known how material was going to go out of style, and I wish I would have bought way more of that material and not have been cheap about stuff. It's, again, when you first start a business, it's money going in, going out, and it's very difficult to make the right decisions with your money, to let go of money, or to try to make money over trying to get experience or information. So I would say that the best piece of advice I can give you is, don't think with the money at the front of your head. How do you go about gaining commercial accounts? The best way to go about it is to not chase them, let them find you, and then make them work for your business. Rich people and wealthy people or corporate people, they're so used to people licking their shoes. Like, that's what their standard is. Their standard is like, I'm going to change your life. You need me. I'm going to make your life better, right? And when they meet someone like me, where I'm like, no, I'm going to make your life better, and I don't show interest or care in the account, it drives them up a wall. It makes them think about me and my company. And why is this guy not interested? Everyone is interested. Why is this guy not? And eventually they ask me that question. Why is it that you are not licking my shoe? And the reason I'm not licking your shoe is because I'm the best in the business. That's how I feel about me and my company. I think that there's nobody better. You're not going to find somebody better. And once corporate accounts wind up with us, they stay with us. Thank God, a million times. I've had corporate accounts for 5, 6, 7 years. That's not standard. Those companies chew you up and spit you out, but I never let that happen from the beginning. So that's really the secret. They will find you. If you contact a corporate company, you send them an email, no one's ever going to even see it, look at it, read it. You call the offices 1,000 times. They have to find you. When they find you, they're going to try to exploit you. If you don't let them do it, it piques their interest. And if you continue along that track and don't bend, eventually they will give you a shot, and then you have to prove to them that you are the best. Otherwise, they'll just throw you to the side. Most corporate companies work on something called a PO30 or a PO60, means that they have 30 days after they receive the material to pay you, or 60 days after they receive the material to pay you. One of the things that I did was tell them that that's not acceptable to me. I'm not going to wait 30 days for you to pay me. If you want me to do your business, you're going to pay me now. And a lot of companies told me no 5, 6, 7 times, but kept calling me and calling me and calling me, trying to get. And I was like, listen, these are my terms. If you want me to do your business, then you're going to pay me before I ship your stuff. And eventually all of them agreed. So there's not one company that I have a PO30 or a PO60 with. Everyone pays me before I ship their stuff. What made me start collecting crystals and then become a venture for business? Yeah, I was working as an energy healer. I had an office in Manhattan, and I was using crystals in my energy work, and that's what I loved doing. Eventually, I got to the point where all of my clients wanted me to get them crystals. They didn't want to get their own crystals. They wanted me to get them crystals. And so I started going and buying crystals, reselling them to my clients. And then I was doing like 35 sessions a week. So I had like 35 people coming in a week. So you imagine how many people wanted to buy crystals. And it just turned into a business from there. And then I wanted to buy a really big amethyst geode, but I lived in this Manhattan at the time, and everything I saw was like $10,000, $20,000. And I was like, I have nowhere near that kind of money. So I started looking for distributors and manufacturers, and eventually I found one, and their minimum purchase was $15,000. And me and my wife, we saved up $15,000 and made our first purchase. Once I got into the business, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be in the business, the point is to get to the mine. So I took myself to the mines. And that's what I did. You know, for me, I'm not going to buy material or get involved in material unless it's directly sourced. I'm not going to secondary buy material. That's just not what I want to do or how I want to operate. Either I'm getting it from the mine or I'm not supplying it. What's your best advice for developing relationships with crystal wholesale dealers? Don't complain about small stuff. So many clients that have come through the door, when they leave, I tell my assistant, don't ever book them again. Not because I want to be mean about it, but because the business is so big right now, and being one of the leading companies, thank God, I can be very selective about my business. And if someone comes in, gives me a hard time, is trying to haggle with me like this is a flea market, I'm pretty much going to not have you back. So I would say my best advice is don't go into a business and complain about small things. You received a $5,000 order, there was one little chip on a quartz, and you're going to make a stink about it. That's not the way to go about it. You complain when there's a problem, but not like little tiny things like, and being loyal. So many clients I've had over the years that I gave them everything. Like I told them way more information than I should have. I hooked them up. I did favors for them. And then, once they got a little bit bigger, once they got, more deep into the business, you just never heard from them again. They started buying from like the Indians and the Pakistanis and the Chinese, which anybody who's in the business long enough knows you don't do that. It's just not smart business. But I'll never take you back. You'll never hear. All those clients eventually contact me and say, "Hey, can I?" No, sorry. So being loyal is important. For my loyal customers, I will bend over backwards for them. Someone's asking about ethical mining. So I get this question a lot. It's about ethical mining, ethical sourcing. There's a couple of things to say about this. Number one, this is a semi-precious stone business. This is not blood diamonds. This is not rubies and sapphires. This is not little kids working in a mine or like old people getting whipped. This is semi-precious stones, literally people digging holes and pulling rocks out. All of the people that I've ever met at any mine, the humility of these people is always high. They don't care about the things that we care about. A lot of people would look at the people who run the mines and be like, oh, they're wearing flip-flops and ripped pants, like they're poor and impoverished. No, that's what they choose to wear. People got tons of money. Like I know miners that are millionaires and they wear like flip-flops that they've had for 10 years and ripped booty shorts. It's like the craziest thing in the world. I've never met a miner or a mining company that was using children or old people or whipping anybody or beating anybody I've never seen anything unethical when it comes to semi-precious mining, like at all. These people make their own choices and their own decisions. They do their own thing. They're paid well. They're the ones that dictate the price. It's not like I'm showing up at the mine and be like, hey, here I am. I'm a corporate guy and I'm going to give you 2 cents. That doesn't even, they'll spit in your face and chop you up. Like, this is not how things work. They're in charge. The miners are in charge. Be aware of that. As far as ethical sourcing goes, I think a lot of people, when they think about the crystal business, are seeing the blood diamonds. They're seeing the gold and the silver mining of ore or, nuclear materials. I don't know. None of that's going on. You're digging holes. You're digging a hole or you're taking rocks off the side of a mountain. There's not much to it. Thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate your questions and I'll talk to you soon.